brother. I'm on my way. My brother. Unyielding sword of Lothric's prince. Rise if you would. For that is our curse.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Ghostly French Toast, and today we're doing a Dark Souls lore video. And it personally is one of a tragic one, but it's a good one nonetheless. And this one is the Lord of Cinder, Lothric and Lorain. Depending how you fight him, it's most likely going to be your second to last boss in the game. Unless you fight Namelsss, all that fun stuff. And enough dawdling around, let's dive on in. Lothric and Lorian, along with Ocelot, the Kasum King's Osiris son, and Queen Lothric, the eldest Lorian, was once a mighty knight who single-handedly defeated the Demon Prince, and we know how tough the Demon Princes are, you know, after we killed them in the DLCs. And after Lorian killed the Demon Princes, his sword basically got scarred by the Demon Prince's fight and became all fiery, all that kind of stuff. Lothric appears to have a little combat training because we know that he had never used his sword, which was his birthright, the Lothric straight sword. And we know from his physical appearance he's crippled, all that kind of stuff. He was born not good. And Ocelot's status is unknown. Currently, we only know a little from the Kasum King boss fight, but nothing very much. The Kingdom of Lothric, which shared the name of the Middle Sun, was a mighty land in the mountains. It was famous for its dragon slayers developing special tools to slay them, but eventually began to tame dragons through unknown means. The kingdoms included three organizations called the Three Pillars of Lothric. Likely called this for some vital role by the rulers of Lothric. The knights were as the name suggests, they're basically the fighting force of the warriors of Lothric, like the dragon slayers, the knights, all those. Sometimes they would be amplified by miracles. You can see in Lothric Castle that there are people that would amplify their basically power, all that. Then we have the High Priestess. The High Priestess is probably one of the most important ones out of them. The High Priestess and the Scholars are probably more important than the Knights. Because the High Priestess Emma in the Dancer fight room. You see after you kill Dancer, all that kind of stuff. And High Priestess Emma is basically the leader of the High Priestess, all that kind of stuff. And she wants to see Lothric and Lorian go back and save the world and become Lord of Cinders, all that kind of spiel. They're basically all like the healers, like the priests, all that kind of stuff. And something later in the kingdom, but we're gonna go back to this later, the angelic faith came along and brought around winged knights, and this kind of sparked a civil war in Lothric. We'll come back to that later, but let's get back on the script. The Scholars were basically the academic center. You can see in the Grand Archives, you can see the Candlestick people, all that kind of stuff. They basically based their magic off Big Hat Logan and Seath the Scaleless. And we can see in the Osiris fight, Osiris also uses it too. We know he spent a lot of time in Grand Archives, all that kind of stuff, until he was banished. And they learned this art of crystal magic by the Crystal Sage. You can see one in Road of Sacrifices and one in the Grand Archives itself as like a mini boss kind of deal. So the first scholar in the Grand Archives, like the scholars part, he didn't want to light the fire. There's some speculations that this is Pontiff Sullivan. The reasons people say this is Pontiff Sullivan is because we know that Pontiff came from the painted world, all that kind of stuff, and he didn't want to light the fire whatsoever. He wanted the fire to fade. And we know that I'll go in more detail over this later, but we know this that after Pontiff left the painted world and went to Erythel, he might have went to Lothric and then to Erythel, because we know that's on the way. And we know that the Kiln of the First Flame and Firelink Shrine are really close together. So that's just my personal theory, and a lot of people's other theories too. And one secret pillar of Lothric that's not really mentioned by name in the game. It is mentioned by name, but not really. It's supposed to be hidden. It's called the Hunters. They were basically like the assassins of basically the Lothric. If there was an enemy of the state that needed to be killed, the Hunters would be sent. There's always 3 Hunters at a time. No more, no less. You find 2 Hunters in the game, one right before Lothric and Lorian boss fight, and you find one right before the Grand Archives, and he has the Grand Archives key, and you can summon him before him. And another word, they also go by the Black Hands. The Black Hands were a very interesting group, because there's some theories that go around that suggesting that you were a Black Hand, since all the Lords of Cinder have a connection to one of the NPCs you make, like Aldrich, Anre, Hawkwood for the Abyss Watchers, and Sigurd for Yhorm. So it makes sense, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. But back on topic. So the scholars convinced the royal families that after Lothric and Lorian became a Lord of Cinder, that they shouldn't link the fire. And talking about Lothric and Lorian linking the fire and all that kind of stuff, Lothric and Lorian both linked the fire. It was originally supposed to be Lothric, but Lorian couldn't stand for Lothric's pain and suffering, so he took a part of the blame too. So that's why he's both mute, crippled, and all that kind of stuff. But he can still swing a big sword and wreck everyone. Alright, back to topic. So the scholars, that's why I was saying Pontiff, not because Pontiff doesn't want to link the fire, all that kind of stuff. At some unknown point in time, probably after Osiris was banished, the Queen of Lothric left. Some people believe the Queen to basically be Guinevere. The reason's because the description of one of the rings basically states that Guinevere was basically a goddess of fertility and all that. And it's also said that the Lothric Queen was a goddess of fertility, and we know that sometime in Dark Souls 1, Guinevere left, and Gwendolyn put up an illusion of Guinevere after Orange needed smoke. So it's interesting to think about it, but yeah, I don't know. And so the first scholar convinced Lothric and Lorian not to link the fire again, not to basically stand their duty. When the bell was tolled, none of the Lord of Cinders really wanted to link the fire. Yhorm didn't want to link the fire because he was basically grieving over his city. Aldrich didn't want to link the fire was because he didn't want because he started seeing, as I referenced in my Aldrich video, I'll leave a link to that below. He basically started seeing basically more ocean and memories, whatever you want to call them, like visions of the future ocean of darkness. And the Abyss Watchers were probably too corrupt to basically fighting each other after the Abyss crept into their keep. But the deed was done, and Lothric was destined to burn and become a Lord of Cinder. Despite this, his frail, small body, boy, with poor health, all the way to his adulthood, was so small that he was still able to wear his swaddling form robes. For reasons, his eldest brother Lorian decided to share the brother's curse, and was left mute and almost useless, like in the legs, because of it. But because of this, their soul was inseparable. Lorian and Lothric could not die unless Lothric did. From all this, They were inseparable in kinship, fueled by their grief for the events that transpired in their family. Since the two were basically linked so close together, they could meld their souls together. Both brothers were required to link the flame due to some combination of occurrences that may or may not include the unspeakable nature of Lothric's birth. His teacher owned doubts and the state of the world despite continuous sacrifice. They rejected their duty to become Lords of Cinder and watched the fire fade from a distance. Due to the chosen sacrifice refusing to burn, the contingency plan was activated, with where previous spells the Lords of Cinders were awakened, the Abyss Watchers Yhorm and Aldrich, to offer the remaining strength to the flame. But when the bell told the significance of the fading flame, only Lothric of Lorain was willing to help, and the three forsook the flame for various reasons of their own. Lothric was basically there's theories that he wasn't really a Lord of Cinder to begin with. He was like halfway, because he wasn't fully, because when he sleeps you can hear in dialogue that he was not really for sure if he was a Lord of Cinder, but you can just go on and so forth. One of the main reasons they weren't able to link the fire because one day the high wall appeared, a massive seismic upheaval of land beneath the castle, raising it high above the bridge that once led to it. Many people have attempted to kill the twin princes, but they have barricaded themselves in the kingdom is consumed by war. The reason that it's consumed by war, there was a civil war, so the angelic faith came around, basically sweeping everything up, and it basically caused a lot of problems. It caused one group wanted to link the fire. You can see that with the red pauldrons on the Lothric Knights. Then we can see the winged knights with the blue pauldrons, and some regular Lothric Knights with blue pauldrons with red eyes. You can see them no, that's purple, sorry. My bad, I was about to say the ones right in front of Lothric, but that was wrong. And it basically split the kingdom in half and basically made it fall into ruin. Even though it's already starting to fall into ruin after the royal family basically split up, all that kind of stuff. Pontiff basically kept his eye on, because Pontiff was basically wanting to control as much as he can, because we know I'm going to do a lore video on Pontiff. Pontiff has some interesting lore. He basically went after kingdom. He basically rose up the ranks to basically declared himself Pontiff of Irithyll, but he kept his eye on Lothric, and he sent over three three Outrider Knights, including, then we have the Dancer of the Boreal Valley and her watchdog compatriot Wart, sent by Pontiff Sullivan to basically slow down the Unkindled. So yeah, I hope I was able to sum everything up as quick as possible, because I like making these lore videos quick, because you people got time. You got time to do stuff. Alright. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. A Ghostly French Toast. Bye.